everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Let's Do It Afraid podcast. How are you doing, Yvette?
Hi everyone. I am Mondaying. I woke up a little feeling off this morning. I don't know what it is, but rolling with the punches. Gotta get through it. I can't just stay in bed, but I did take a little extra nap because I wasn't feeling great. But it's part of the winter season and part of what's to come, right? So I'm just glad I got it now versus like going on vacation in a couple of weeks. So
Yeah, it's definitely the cold season. Do you usually get a flu vaccine?
no. Do you?
No,
Yeah.
I don't. And I don't really have anything like against it. I know, some people feel differently about vaccines and things like that. I don't know, the few times that I have done it, honestly, I feel like are the years that I get more sick. Whereas like the years that I haven't done it, I might get like a little cold here and there, but I don't get as sick. So that's kind of like why I usually don't. And also just because I don't know, like I'm too lazy. I have too many things going on. I don't want to go to the doctor and get a vaccine.
I
If
feel
I
like I've been feeling like that lately with everything. Not that I'm lazy, but it's procrastinate. It's my anxiety, and then I get overwhelmed, and I see like I'm the type of person that if si te digo que voy a estar ahí, I'm gonna be there, and it's been really, really for me because it's like learning to say no, kind of in a way, with certain things that I have to do when my pile of list to do is already huge. But then at the same time, it's like I want to be there because I'm the type of person that like fills my cup with being there for other people. And I don't know if it kind of gets into people pleasing sometimes. So then I'm like I have to get myself back. But then at the same time, I find myself super dreaded by like 5 p.m. and I'm over here making these commitments. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know why I did this to myself. Then I'm like procrastinating. I'm like, maybe I should just cancel. But then I like freak out and then I'm like, no, that's not me. I can't cancel. What do I do with my life? Like, where do I go? But then I just end up following through. But lately I've been taking a step back. I'm like, dude, I really have been trying to keep myself a little bit more calm. At the same time, my grandpa does, I don't know if he gets an allergic reaction to the vaccine, but the times that he's gotten it, he gets super sick. Mom was like, why do they keep giving it to them when he's already had all these bad reactions with it? And I think this last time he caught it again, and my mom was freaking out because recently he fell and he hit part of his face and he like scraped it. And my mom was like, they had literally just given him vaccines a couple like around that same time frame. And I'm like, I don't know. Like what do we do when and then when they get old, like you can't make decisions for them or grandpa's just like, pues dámela, I want to get out of here. But
Is he like that with all vaccines or is it just the flu one?
I think it's just the flu one. He did do the COVID vaccine and I think because it was required to travel and they want to go to Mexico like every so often, so it's hard. And I that's the reason why I got it too. Like I was holding off until I had to really have it.
No, and it might also be like the time change because I feel like it gets so dark so early and I don't like to go out when it's dark. So it's like before, if it was, light until 9 o'clock at night, the days felt really long and you felt like you had so much time to do things. But now because it's dark at like 4:30, I'm like, gosh, you really don't have that much time to do everything you have to do. So I totally get it. I've been feeling a little overwhelmed as well with just having to do everything and wanting to please everyone. So I've also kind of had to like reevaluate that and just tell myself like, what's the point of being an adult if I can't make my own decisions? Like, isn't that the point of being an adult is that I get to decide what I say yes to and what I say no to, So it's like I have to kind of remind myself of that, like, Mayra, you're an adult, like you're 38 years old, you can say yes, you can say no, and that's okay. You don't have to give people an explanation.
That's the thing with me. I give them explanation over everything, and that's something my therapist has told me. Like, you're oversharing. You don't have to tell them why. Just no is no. And I'm like, I think it's also the people pleasing in me because it's
Yeah.
like I don't want to let them down, so I have to give them like this flat out explanation, and I do it naturally. It's not like I'm sitting here and making up all these stories. It's like, no, guys, this is my open book. This is why I can't make it, and I feel horrible to myself. And then I come home with guilt when I can't, like when I say no. So I'm like, I'm so bad at this.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I have so much guilt. Same thing, like I have to give them so many explanations. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is or what the solution is or how we stop doing that to ourselves because it is the people pleasing in us and we don't owe anyone an explanation. And I
Yes.
think people who really know you and really know your heart, like they're not going to take it as she's being mean or she's being a bitch, like they're just going to be like, no, like she has a good heart, she has good intentions. Like if she couldn't do it, it's probably for a good reason, you know?
Yeah, I think, I mean, yeah, I get that. I just feel like sometimes I don't know people and then I get involved with other business owners and things like that. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm seeming like I'm counseling everything, but I'm really trying not to. I'm really trying to make it to everything. But sometimes I overbook myself too. Like I did that recently with my kids' therapy and I forget and I'm like, oh my God, I have a meeting. It's really hard, girl. And then I'm like, it's not that I don't want to be there with you guys. I know I needed to do this for my business. I need to network. I need to help people. But at the same time, like I have therapies to go to with my kids. It's not like I'm inventing these appointments to not be there.
Gosh, yeah. It's like those things, when you're a mom, you have to do so many things, even feeding them. It's like we have to keep these children alive. When something like this happens, I had to take my son to speech as well. So it's like you can't help those things, and there are things a child needs. So yeah, I feel like we're in the trenches. When you're raising your children, it's like you're in the trenches, like you're just like barely holding on to dear life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that one day we're gonna miss these days. So
Right? Yeah. I mean, like I see it in a negative way, right? Because I also enjoy seeing my kid progress and going through all these things. And it's like he enjoys certain ones, other ones he doesn't like because he's super sensitive with like touching things. But he looks forward to it. He's like, oh, yeah, we're going to do this tomorrow. Oh, yeah, we're going to go to this therapy tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah. But then when I have to cancel, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize that it's the same time that I have to go to this other meeting. And then I have to like tell the therapist, I'm like, I'm so sorry I overbooked, the million things. But I'm like, I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. I've been going through this forever with him and it just keeps me going. It gives me something to look forward to as well as with him. And then he gets to do yoga and then we do yoga together with all the kiddos. So it just something that keeps us all going. And then it also reminds the other kids like, hey, not everyone's the same. So I always try to remind my middle kid, like, you may be smarter, you may know how to do things, so don't get too frustrated because he's a little fused. Like if he gets mad, he's like yelling at him and he's like, I told you this is not how you do it. This is not right. I'm like, remember, he needs extra patience, extra support. Like try to give him an ear to listen to, or what is it called? Give him a listening ear and give him patience. But then he's like, oh yeah. And then he like goes away for 5 seconds, comes back and is like, okay, I can help him with his homework now. Cause like he's really good at reading and things. So I'm like, try to sit there and read with him. And then my other one's like, I hate reading. So, it's just the balancing act.
yes, it's definitely the balancing act that we all do as moms.
This all relates to our topic today with like red and green flags and people pleasing and rewriting relationships.
I know we really wanted to talk about that, the red flags we've ignored, the green flags we look for, and how to rewrite our relationship expectations. So, what is one quality in a person that you used to overlook, but now you wouldn't tolerate for a second?
When they're talking about somebody else and they're not there. Like when they're in person and you see them like being and then the person leaves and then they're talking all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if it's hypocrite, if it's constructive feedback, it's like whatever. I'm like, yeah, everybody has room for improvement. But if you're sitting there just bad talking to somebody and then when they're there, you're like acting like another person, I don't know if it's my anxiety because I'm like, well, what do they say when I'm gone? Like how do I look in their eyes? And I'm like, why do I even care what people think about me? Like, just keep going. But I used to be that way, and now I'm trying to work on it again. But
Well, and I think it just tells you about their character too. Like if you are so nice to somebody when they're in your face and then they turn around and then you're talking badly about them, it's just like that's who they are. So if they're doing that about this person, they're probably doing it about me or you. So I get that one. I've heard that one before, and that's a really good one. Yeah.
it's hard. It's really hard because also it kind of irks my nerves. But then when you're trying to sit there and be at a family gathering, let's say, right? And you don't get along with X person's partner or that person doesn't acknowledge you, comes through, doesn't say hi, and just talks to certain people, but then ignores you and acts like you're not there. Or like goes and says hi to everyone, but then like skips certain people, right? And then I'm like, I just really want to be cordial with people because at the same time, I want to see that family member. Where's the line for hypocrisy and where's the line for just trying to be nice?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I think the one that I used to maybe overlook before that I've learned to not tolerate anymore, or probably, I mean, that one that you just mentioned for sure. But also, I don't know, like I used to always want to see the best in people and just like think that, I don't know, maybe they're just having a bad day. I do try to still be like that, but I think if somebody, like, for example, even if it's like the littlest thing, if they lie about certain things, you know, I just like I don't want to be around people like that because I feel like if they can lie about little things, they're gonna lie about bigger things. And that's something that I used to probably tolerate before. And I'd feel like, oh, it's just a little white lie. Like, it's not a big deal. It's like, no, if they're showing you that they lie about little things, they're probably lying about big things too.
I know it's so hard, like, cause my kids, my husband will joke around lies, right? Like they like like we'll be walking around, there'll be somebody and be like, "I want to tia," and my kids are like, "What?" And then but it like creates like a good environment, right? We're all laughing. But then I'm like, they're literally gonna believe you one day, and they're gonna call them tia. Like that's not you're lying here, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a good thing. We're teaching them how to lie, but we really don't want them to lie, right?
No. Yeah, no, you don't want them to lie. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just like a funny, like, I mean, if I don't know, I guess it's different if it's like you said, that's, I don't know, that's a dad and he's just joking with the kids, you know. But
Yeah.
also, it's like the, what is it, the boy who cried wolf or whatever, right? It's like you hear,
Mhm.
yeah, he's like asking for help and asking for help. And then when he really needs the help, nobody's there to help him.
Yeah, that irks my nerves. Like, I get it. We're all in the trenches sometimes, like you're saying. I don't know if it's me or when we go to other places or on vacation when there's people that are less fortunate, I'm always like, I'll lend a helping hand. But at one point, are you overdoing it and like you're enabling their situation, or are you really helping them? Because at the same time, if they're not doing anything for themselves, like my dad says, dice Dios, ayúdate que yo te ayudaré. But if they're not doing anything for themselves, like you're the only one becoming responsible and they're becoming irresponsible. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. But again, the blurry lines here are just it drive me nuts.
Yeah. And then I feel like people talk about this a lot now, oh, red flags and green flags and I don't know if they're yellow flag. I don't know. I'm not sure. But,
Yeah.
and I feel like when we were growing up, I never heard red flags, green flags. Like nobody talked about these things, you know.
Hmm.
But I do like that we're talking about it now. Like I do like to have conversations with my daughter about maybe things that I've ignored in the past or excuses that I made for people and it didn't suit me, like we've said about, the little lies and things like that. And also when people are talking to you badly about other people, and how it's like you don't want to be around people like that because they're probably going to be talking about you as well.
I agree. I agree. I don't know that I've heard. I think my dad, like before, is like, "Oh, pues, this is how your counterpart should be," or bro, whatever. Like when people would reference things like that, but I don't think they ever were like red flag, green flag, or what are the things we look for in people. Maybe it was asked in other ways, but it was never like considered a red or green flag.
Yeah, no, I definitely never heard red flags or green flags. I think that it's like a newer term that people have picked up. But I mean, I like it. I like that we're talking about this and that people are actually calling out bad behavior rather than just ignoring it or excusing it. I don't know. I just feel like if you know better, then you do better. Somebody can tell you like, hey, that's not okay. Then maybe you'll be able to really think about it and be like, yeah, like maybe I shouldn't do that.
I agree.
And I try to tell my daughter, like, I don't know if this ever happened in your family, but I do remember, like, in my family, the women who I was mostly around would be very critical of other women, like, oh, mira cómo se viste, or, mira qué trae puesto, and things like that. And so it always made me grow up in this state of just like really being self-conscious about what I wore. And I don't know, like, I don't do that with my daughter. Like I don't tell her what to wear, what not to wear. Like I really want her to make her own choices and feel really confident in her own skin. I mean, that's not to say that if she walked out and was like half naked, I might be like, are you sure about that? But it's like I never like shame her. I'm never like, oh no, don't wear that. If she asks me like, hey mom, how does this look or whatever, then I'll give her my opinion. But for the most part, it's like I just want her to wear whatever she feels confident in, and I never want her to feel shame
Yeah,
about how the way she dresses because at the end of the day, like clothes are just clothes, and I don't think that it makes you a good person or a bad person. Like at the end of the day, like I care about your heart, and that's going to tell me what kind of a person you are, not the clothes that you're wearing.
I agree. It's hard though, because now that I have a daughter, like she's still tiny, so I'm not there yet. But I do remember like when I was growing up, my brothers would be like, "You can't wear that, and you can't wear that," and I kind of thank them for that because at the same time, I like taught people to really value you who you were instead of like what you were wearing. When it comes to the kids now, I'm like, I don't know what it's gonna be like down the road, but at the same time, just teaching them good values or good morals, like from what we learned, and trying not to hand down those kind of things, like what you're saying when they're sitting there talking about what are people are wearing. And it's really hard to tell you that because my dad is like, I don't understand why people can't wear clothes appropriate to their proportion, right? And I'm like, Dad, that's not nice. Like, what if that's the only thing they could afford? And he's like, yeah, but just they don't see that people are laughing at them. Like, I feel bad that people are laughing at them. And I'm like, yeah, but that's just how they feel comfortable. You can't really change people, you know? And then I'm like, my kids are listening to what they're saying. And like, I don't know. I'm like, that's so hard because I'm like, try to be nice, you know? And my middle kid is really good at that. Right now, the kids are small. I can't really be like, hey, this is a red flag. This is a green flag. Like, they'll be like, what are you talking about? But as they get older and things are more appropriate, then of course, like, I'll let them know. But right now, I'm really working on like their values and what we all value because my middle kid saw a homeless and he wasn't well dressed. And then I don't remember what he did, but I was laughing at the fact that whatever the guy was doing was trying to be funny. And then my kid was like, you don't laugh at homeless. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, why are you laughing at the homeless? That's so rude. I'm like, I'm not laughing at the homeless. I'm laughing at like what he was trying to do, you know?
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, okay. But he like protects people without no, like he defends them. And my husband's like, ¿Por qué los defiendes? And then he's like, oh, it's because, they're very less fortunate and they need more help and more assistance. And I'm like, yeah, honey. But because sometimes he's like, you need to carry all this money so we can give it to the homeless. And I'm like, babe, we still need to feed ourselves. I'm not trying to be greedy. And so when we can help, we help. But he's like, they need more help than we do. I'm like, so that means you're not going to feed yourself? Like, it's just so hard these days.
Yeah. No, but I agree. I think if you are teaching them like the values that you want to implement in them, then they will learn about things to look for, right? Like if I'm teaching you how important honesty is, then you're gonna value honesty and hopefully look for honesty in other people. If I'm telling you how important loyalty is and integrity is, then hopefully that those things you'll implement in yourself and then you'll look for friends or partners who also are integrate and loyal. I have more of these conversations, I think, with my daughters. Like she's going on a date with somebody and you're like, he calls her and he says, I'm gonna pick you up at 8. Is he here at 7:55 or is he here at 8:05? Like I know that it might not seem like a big deal, but I do think that actions speak louder than words. So is he doing what he says he's going to do? I saw this meme the other day where it was like, about how much people love their cats, and it was saying how I love this little thing so much, and we've never spoke. So that kind of teaches you that actions speak louder than words, right?
Mhm.
So it's like their loyalty to us, the love that they give us, even though, yeah, like I've never talked to my cats, but I'll die for my cats. I
Yeah.
love them. They give me so much love and peace and comfort just by their presence. So it's like it does teach you that actions speak louder than words. Like
Yeah.
I need to know that I could trust you and that you're going to do what you say you're going to do.
I agree. I saw this reel the other day where it was a dad talking to their kids. I don't know if I sent it to you, but he was like, they recite these things in the morning, kind of like daily affirmations, but it had to do with integrity. And it's like, what is integrity? And then they're like, behaving when no one's watching. I was like, that is so cute. And he was teaching them all this stuff, but I was like, I need to practice this with my kids.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's like a big one that I always tell them is like how important integrity is and just doing that's like I told them like that's doing the right thing even when no one's watching.
Yes.
Even if nobody else knows, like you did the right thing.
Yes, I agree. My oldest is harder to understand. Like I think he picks up on the behavior that he gets at school. So he's doing things sometimes that he shouldn't be doing, and I'm like, why are you doing these behaviors? This isn't what you usually do. And then he doesn't say anything. I'm like, I know you're getting that at school. Like, where else are you gonna get it from? And then he just laughs, and I'm like, no, it's not funny. This is not what we're doing. And then my middle's like, yeah, this is not right. So it's so hard, but just seeing how they can learn from each other at the end of the day is basically what I'm striving for, and so that they all have each other at the end of the day. Because I that's the reason why I had more than one kid, because I didn't want them to grow up alone, so they can also help each other. And then I don't know, I feel like me and my siblings had a really good relationship, and we still do. We did bicker here and there, and we do have different age gaps, so it wasn't always like that. But I don't know. I'm very grateful for what we are now and for the people we've all become. And I feel like everyone has gotten like a great partner and we've all become like siblings. And so I always call them my bonus siblings or my sisters or my brothers. And so I don't know, I just feel very blessed. But Do you feel like you ignored red flags within any of your relationships early on, or what are things that you have learned from them?
Oh yeah. I mean, I I know I have. I mean, I didn't date a lot, to be very honest, because I think I've said this a million times. To me, love was always number one, and then respect like number two, right? But I think as I've gotten older, I understand so much more how if you don't respect each other, then you really can't love each other, you know? Because it's like if I respect you, then I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be loyal to you. But if I don't respect you, then I'm not probably not going to do a lot of those things. Now that I'm older, I really understand respect is really the key to any and every relationship to work, right? Even if it's a friendship, if it's the relationship that I have with my kids, if it's a relationship that I have with my siblings, with my husband, like respect has to be the number one thing in order for any relationship to work. And I think that that's also something that maybe I've ignored in the past and I didn't put a big weight on it, that now I'm like, oh no, like definitely respect is key.
I feel like my mom has always told me that too. Like, you guys have to respect yourself, and the day that the respect is at the door, then it's gone, you know? I know a lot of the times, like, people stay in relationships regardless of what they see because they fear being alone. And that's something that is a big one. And I feel like a lot of people don't talk about the fear of being alone. How do you break from the fear, especially when the society pressures us to be with someone or feel like we need someone to feel complete?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. We're on the same page here. We're mind readers. I was going to say, like, why do we ignore these red flags? But yeah, you hit it on the head, right? It's like because we are afraid of being alone or feeling unworthy or, I don't know, like, and sometimes you think, like, oh, especially when we're younger, right? If it's like in a relationship, we're like, oh, we can change them. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh God.
cheaters before, they cheated on their ex-girlfriends, but I'm the exception. I'm the one he's going to change for. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, no, 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 like, yeah, they can change, but they change when they want to change. It doesn't have to do with you, you
Yeah.
know.
Hmm.
At the same time, it's like and I've told my daughter this a million times, like, you're not their mother.
Oh
You're
yeah.
not there to raise him into a man. That was his mother's job.
Hmm.
That's your job. So your job is not to tell him what's right, what's wrong. Like, he should come as a complete man to the
Yeah.
relationship, and that like you guys have to complement each other, but you're not there to be like, oh, this is like, don't lie, try to teach them like, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, all of those things they should already know when they come into a relationship with you.
Yeah. I agree. You hit it right on the nail.
Yeah, but like definitely being alone was like a big thing for me, but I think it was also just like self-confidence. Like, I don't want to be by myself. I'd rather be in this relationship even if it doesn't serve me than to be alone.
I don't know. Like, I feel like when I was a kid and I was dating around in like high school, like you were saying, like writing notes and that was about it, like it didn't really go anywhere. But like the pressure of having a partner, like people always talking about it, and I don't know what it was, but my confidence was great. I don't know what it was in me. Maybe the people pleasing or maybe wanting to fit in. I don't know what it was, but I feel like I didn't really navigate myself. Like I just did for others and I was just trying to fit in more so than I was trying to grow, like do self-growth or build more on my self-confidence. I feel like I did have confidence, but the self-love, I don't know that I really explored that. And when I moved off to college and I did experience another relationship, but the times that we did like break it off, it was awkward. I don't know. I was like, what am I doing all the way over here, like living away from my hometown? Just so I can go to school and go and like experience this on my own. But then I felt off. Like being alone was weird, and I didn't really take the time. Maybe it was because I don't like reading, or I don't know. Makeup was really big for me, and like I love shopping, I love exploring and going out to the city and things of that nature because I was more on that end than Northern California. But being alone for me was just awkward. I just felt off. But then it was funny, like when I did end it, and then my siblings were like, "Oh, you look so totally different." And then when I did have like that period, I went on insanity and I lost hella weight. I don't know. I'm like, why can't I put myself back in that mindset and just get it going? I don't even know how I did it. And then my brothers will be like, "How'd you do it?" I'm like, I don't know. I just followed the calendar and it happened.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember Insanity. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
remember. Might also be like the cultural norms and also the time we grew up in, because I do remember I don't know, like I remember hearing like hearing my aunts and stuff, or when we would go to Mexico when I was a teenager, and you'd hear like, oh, after they're 20, it's like, what do they call them? Cotorras, yes. And it's like you had this expectation to like find love, and like you would watch telenovelas and all these things, and it's like you have that expectation to like find love and then get married, and I don't, and I feel like we heard that a lot, but they don't really focus on that so much right now, because I know like my sister who's 14 years younger than I am, and even like my daughter will be like, oh no, like I don't even think about getting married, mom. I don't even want kids, and my sister too, if I would ask her like, are you thinking about marriage, she'd probably be like, no, and my sister-in-law too, who's also I think she's 24, 25, same thing. And she's been with her boyfriend for like 4 years now. And I'm always like, hey, when are you gonna get, I jokingly, I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
¿cuándo te vas a casar? She's like, no, 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 ¿cómo crees? So it's like, I don't feel like people have that pressure anymore, which is a good thing. But I do think that we did have that in our generation.
Yeah, well, my brothers were all mad when I got pregnant and they were like, well, you haven't finished school yet. And I'm like, okay, I'm still going to school. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop going to school. Like, it doesn't change my plans. I'm just having a kid, you know? And they're like, oh, well, you need to finish your career and blah, blah, blah. And I thought you were going to go and do this route and you were going to get married to a doctor and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? Why would I get married to a doctor? Like, what does that have to do with any of this, right? I don't know what their mindset was. Maybe it was like their cultural expectations or what they were thinking for me. I don't know if it's like something from the olden days. I know my grandma loves to like pair people up or imagine a couple and then be like, oh, they should get married or this would be a great relationship. And it's like, no, you don't know what it takes to really build something like that, you know? But it does have to do with what you're saying, like the societal expectations and the culture. Because when I would go to Mexico and I did end up getting with my partner, my grandma was like, oh, pues ya iba pa cotorra. I'm like, what the heck? I was literally like 20 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like when my mom called it because I had gone to Mexico and I was over there by myself. I had gone with everyone, everybody came back and I was gonna stay the full 3 months. And then I was pregnant and I had a partner, and then my mom was like, they were all hella mad. And then my grandma was like, yo no sé para qué se enojan. Si ya se iba a poner cotorra and blah blah. I'm like, oh my God, grandma. And I was like, I guess I had someone supporting me, but I was like, that sounds weird.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, and no, you were 20, you were a baby,
Yeah. Hmm.
definitely not a cotorra. But yeah, I think there was like just different expectations when we were growing up that people don't have that. So it's like we felt kind of maybe more pressure to make those relationships work. I don't know, you
Well, I
know?
also feel like a lot of the people don't watch novelas now, like with their parents, or that
I never,
I would do that all the time with my mom. Like I'd come home from school and I'd do homework and then I'd watch novelas, and those were like my bonding time with my mom. But my kids don't really do that with me. I mean, we come home and watch movies, but it's not what I want to watch. It's what they want to watch, and
Mhm.
that's just how it works right now. But I don't know. Maybe like I do know things are changing because my brother, same thing. He's 24 and he's like, yeah, no, not getting married, not having kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think something's definitely changed. And you're right. We put people don't watch, I don't watch novelas anymore. And my kids, I don't even know if they know what a novela is?
Mhm.
So we've talked a lot about red flags, but are there any green flags that maybe you look for in a relationship, whether it's a friendship or, I mean, you're obviously married, but like if you were single, and a partner.
I think something that was really big for me which is something that called me to my husband too, was like really big on family and having family around and those values of like being connected to the family. At the moment, things aren't what they once were because his mom did pass and people went their own way. And now everyone's like true colors are coming about, but it's hard. I mean, I'm not going to say every family's perfect because I also see it on my family, and there's ugly people in all the families. So it is with like working with different personalities and different people, just trying to make things better for our future. For me, at least for me, I'm just trying to make things good for my kids and show them who we are. Whether they decide to be present around the kids or not, that's on them, and that's just how it is. And I think just the family aspect, the integrity, the honesty, the loyalty, things of that nature, and the respect is something that would be good green flags in my eyes, and it's something that I hold to my core.
Yeah. I mean, I think even something as simple as I think I told this to my daughter the other day. I was like, I mean, she hasn't really gone on a date yet. But I was telling her like when you go on a date, I want you to see the way he treats the people that are servicing you guys, like your waiter, the hostess, whoever sits you down, because it's like that'll also teach you, how they treat other people. And Do they say please? Do they say thank you? Are they kind to them? Because some people are real, like I remember when I worked as a waitress, some people are really, really mean, and I think that that could show who they are.
Hmm.
But, just like what you said, I think it's more of like looking for, are they honest? Do they do what they say they're gonna do? And if he says he's gonna call me at 8, did he call me at 8? Did he call me 3 minutes before? Things like that, like their values, are their values aligning with what they're doing and presenting to everyone else? Or how do they treat their mom? How do they treat their dad? How do they treat their siblings? One of my cousins kind of said something that I thought was really, really cool. And it just kind of goes to show you because she also got married a lot older than I did. And she was saying how the first time she went to go meet her husband's family, she noticed how her father in law treated her mother in law and how he was like really kind and attentive and le sirvió de comer. I think she even said that he like pulled out her seat when she sat down, the mother-in-law. And so to her that was like, oh my gosh, like if this is the dad, right? The man who raised him, and he treats his mom like with so much love and care and respect, that's how he's going to treat me. And so that was like a big green flag to her. And I would say like, yeah, like something even like that makes really teaches you about the way they were raised and the values that were instilled within them as a child, because those are the things that they take on to adulthood as well.
Yeah, it's something that I always talk about too with my husband. I'm like, the way we act and the way we are when we're around the kids is what they pick up and they think is normal. So sometimes when I'm like stressed out, I'm like, I really prefer to just not like be like, oh, I take my naps and even when I need it to recharge myself, but also I tell my husband, I'm like, they're gonna pick this up and they're gonna know like they need time for themselves. But also like the way we are with each other and the way we are with them is something that is gonna set their example. And I don't want that. I mean, I feel like the guilt is always there when something is off, but I mean, we're human and they know that, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
setting the example for them with how we do things is something that's going to be big for their future. I agree.
No, no, I like that. Yeah, I like that you said that you want them to kind of see that you take naps and that you take time for yourself and that you rest, because it is important to teach them that it's okay to rest.
Yeah.
It's not doesn't always have to be go, go, go. But
Mhm.
yeah, like I do try to tell my husband, like the way you talk to me in front of the kids, like all of those things you're going to teach our son how he treats his wife, and then you're going to teach our daughter how she kind of expects to be treated. And I remember like the first Valentine's Day where like our daughter was kind of old enough to kind of know what Valentine's Day was. And I remember I told him like, hey, because he always buys me flowers. And I'm like, hey, like, please bring some flowers for our daughter,
Yeah,
because I think it's important for her to, I don't know, to get some flowers too and to feel loved and special, so that when she is older, she kind of expects that from her partner. Not necessarily flowers, because maybe flowers won't be important to her. I don't know. Maybe she'll want a piece of chocolate. Maybe that'll be important to her. But to kind of like voice, like, hey, these things are important to me. I'd like it if you did this.
yeah,
Everyone.
I agree. I believe that, and I can see that with my kid too, and that's something that I see online too. It's like people bring their kids flowers whenever they bring the white
Mhm.
flowers, and I'm like, that's so cute because it sets an expectation for them and to value those kind of details, you know?
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of the times here, they lose the small details or the values, things that what is it called? Like money can't buy, like
yeah,
the little gestures, the different ways to show love. I feel like a lot of that has been lost and trying to get back into that for my kids. I feel like it's something that they can value without having to waste so much money, you know, because nowadays everything is all about money.
yeah. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I don't feel like it's necessarily about, the flowers or a gift. Like, maybe you just want to know that they thought about you during the day.
Mhm.
Like even if it's just a text.
Yeah,
Like some people, it's so important for them, for their partner to text them like good morning or good night, or even once during the day, like how are you doing, things like that. But at the same time, like people aren't mind readers, so I do try to really, if I need something from my husband, I try to tell him like, hey, I really need this from you. And that also is kind of like modeling for my children as well, like, hey, if you when you have a partner, like they aren't mind readers, so if something is important to you, you should tell them like, hey, this is important to me, I really want you to do this.
I agree.
Have your relationship standards evolved over time? Like, do you think that there were things before that maybe weren't as important and now they are?
Feel like yeah, because the relationships that you go through changes, and I feel like our values may just adjust. I mean, the integrity and all the core values are still there. It's just like the way we do things may be a little bit different. And I try to remind myself like what used to bug me before may not bug me now. What didn't bug me bugs me now, and it's like try to be vocal and communicate because sometimes it's like well, your expectations change, but they have no idea. So voice your concerns. Like if your love language is no longer the same, like let people know. So you're not disappointed because you're waiting. They think that it's one way, but it's actually going towards another way. Things like that. Just being more communicative and evolving altogether. Like if you grow apart, it may not be for you. It's just so many different things. And I try to just roll with the punches here and there whenever it's needed. But if you see that interest is no longer there, then I just feel like it's a waste of time.
Yeah. Or even like you said, like people are always changing. We're always evolving. I'm not the same person I was when I was 16. I'm not the same person I was when I was 19 and got married. So it's like we are constantly changing. So it is really important to kind of vocalize that. And then also, I think not only understanding what like your love language is, but also understanding how your partner shows love. Because I
Yes.
remember for like the longest time I was like so frustrated and I felt kind of unloved because for me it's like I need the person, I want them to spend time with me.
Yeah.
Like I want them just like really want to spend time with me. And my husband, he works a lot. But then if I would tell him like, I feel like you don't love me, like you don't want to spend time with me, but he would be like, "What do you mean? I don't love you? Like, this is the reason I work so much is for you. Like, I want to provide for you. I want to take care of you."
Yeah.
And so it was like also recognizing, like, okay, like this is how he shows love. Like he does love me. Like he does take care of me. He provides. Nunca necesitamos nada, right? Like also understand that that's how they show love as well. And it might not always be the way you want it to be, you know?
Yeah, the expectations again, it's like if you have different expectations or they have different expectations, you got to be vocal because you can't really please someone if you know what I mean? Like, what if you guys are going in opposite directions and it's just not going to work?
Yeah. And we'd love to hear from you guys if you guys could share maybe some red flags that you ignored and now you wouldn't, or maybe now there are green flags that you look for on purpose. We'd also love to hear all of those. Email us, put it in the comment sections because we would definitely love to hear what everyone else's opinions are on these topics. We don't know it all.
I agree. Remember that your worth doesn't depend on being in a relationship and that you're always worthy of love, respect, and happiness.
Yeah, and I think another thing is I remember when I was younger was always thinking, like you said, like, oh, in order to feel like worthy or something, I have to be with this person, or oh, I'm gonna be happy once I have this person. They're gonna compliment me. They're gonna, make me feel so special. And it's like as I've grown up, I've realized that we have the ability to make ourselves happy and we are worthy just as we are. In a healthy relationship, I think you have like two people who are happy and healthy on their own, and then you kind of come together, right? Where it's like if you are both two very broken people, then it will cause like inner chaos or inner turmoil because you are looking for validation or worthiness or happiness from an outside source, right? Instead of like looking for it within yourself, which is at the end of the day, like we kind of we're born alone, we're gonna die alone. The only person you can really count on is yourself.
Yeah,
So it's like if you can find a way to remember that you are worthy just as you are. I think we talked about this a lot too in a session with Ana Maria, right? Just about like feeling like worthy and just from existing.
yeah.
You're alive and you're worthy. So just remembering that, and you don't need somebody else to, just because you might not have a partner doesn't mean that you're not worthy. And you also have, hopefully you have friends that love you, and hopefully you have, family who loves you, and they can also be a comfort and love and peace for you as well. It doesn't always have to be romantic love.
I agree. I feel like a lot of the times, like you're saying, the younger generation doesn't want to get married, doesn't want to have kids or family. But at the same time, like, what are we going to leave for the future? For me, my siblings we're all very much spread out with like age wise. So like the age gaps are like 8, 8, and the older ones are much closer. But we're all gonna be in different stages of life, and we're all gonna be different, evolving, and you know what I mean. Everybody's evolving at the same time, so we'll see what happens. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, we're all, like you said, it's like we're with age, you just change so much, and things that were important to you before are no longer important. And so, yeah, we're definitely always changing and always evolving. And for a long time, I did kind of believe that, like, oh, I wasn't worthy unless somebody else loved me. I've learned that that's not true. Like my worth doesn't come from my husband loving me,
yeah,
and my worth won't go away if he chooses not to love me tomorrow. I mean, do I want that to happen? Of course not. I want to be with my husband forever. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't get my worth from him. And what do they say when somebody's garbage is somebody else's? What is it? What's it saying?
oh yeah, la basura de alguien más is somebody's treasure.
Yeah, like somebody else, yeah, somebody's garbage is somebody else's treasure. So it's like, and it's like, no, like we can't feel people's feelings towards us change all the time. So you can't base your worth on somebody else's feelings.
I agree. I feel like it's hard sometimes though, because like if we have so many things going on, or our mind can be so powerful and overtaken. So it's like we have to remind ourselves to work on ourselves, our self-love,
Yeah.
and we have to fill our own cup before we can help somebody else, and that can be easier said than done, but it's something that I've learned that I'm working on myself too, because at the end of the day, all we have is ourselves, and whether things work out or don't work out, like you have your own person, and that's going to be with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, 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 for sure. And same. Like I have to tell myself this every day. It's not something that, we ever stop having to repeat to ourselves, right? Like I am worthy, I'm loved just as I am, we're gonna be fine. So yeah, it's definitely a work in progress. It's something that's way easier said than done. And I remember like when I was younger and like when I would see that, for example, like if I had a friend, right? And her boyfriend cheated on her or whatever, like I would never tell her like, oh, what's because it's your fault, right? Like you must have done something wrong for him to cheat. Like, no, I would never say that to my friend, right? I'd be like, no, like he's dumb. It's his loss. Like you're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're amazing. Like too bad for him that he couldn't see it. So I try to think of like putting myself in those situations too when like if somebody were like cheated on me or if somebody didn't treat me the way I thought I should be treated, kind of talk to myself as if I was a friend, and be like, no, Mayra, like, you didn't deserve that. You are worthy. You are beautiful. Like, screw them, their loss. So at the end of the day, it's like I try to talk to myself as if I was a friend, because if not, then I'm going to be very mean to myself. And it's like, I don't need to be mean to myself.
Yeah. I agree. And I feel like a lot of the times we pass that down to our kids too. Like that when I do the daily affirmations with my kids in the morning, I always tell my daughter, like, because she's always like, oh, are you proud of me? I'm like, are you proud of yourself? Because everybody else could be proud of you, but are you proud of yourself? And she's like, yes, I'm proud of myself. I'm like, yes, I'm proud of you and you're proud of yourself, but you're proud of yourself, and that's more important.
I love that you said that because that's true. When I heard that and I've tried to change it as well. So it's like before when I would say like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you." Like now I told them like, "You should be so proud of yourself. Like you did this." Because you're right. It's like you want them to feel proud, not because other people are telling them that they should be proud, but because they really believe it inside.
Yes, so I tell my kids that all the time because I remember when I grew up and I was doing everything, like I would come home and show my brother and my parents, oh my God, I got straight A's, oh my God, this, oh my God, that. And it was good. But then I was looking for external validation instead of being proud of myself. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it can coexist, but at the same time, I tell my kid, like, what matters most is how you feel. So I want you to be proud of yourself because you see all the capacity that you have?
I love that. Yeah, and that is a good note to end it. If you need to hear that again, rewind and listen to that again because
Yes.
that's true. It's like we're looking for this outside validation when it should come from within. We should be so proud of ourselves and our own accomplishments and know that we are capable of so many things,
I
right?
agree.
We can do the hard things. So like was said before, please, if you have any green flags or red flags that you want to talk to us about, if you have questions, comments, maybe things that you want us to cover in the future, in future episodes, please reach out. You can always email us. You can always comment in the comment section, like the videos, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And we just thank you all so much for being here and for listening to us.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. Go ahead and leave us your message or contact us on Instagram via DM, however feels better for you. We're available on all different platforms. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on YouTube, depending on however you want to stream it. And thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Keep shining, stay true to yourself, and never forget that you are already whole. We'll see you next time. Bye.